All right. Amit, thanks again for coming to the Startup Junto series. It's great to have you. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Perfume Brothers?
Sure. So Perfume Brothers is a company that my brother and I started. It is a direct-to-consumer company. That's how we started it. Where basically what we're doing is we're getting fragrance products to consumers that are looking for these items at a cost lower than they would typically pay at retail. And
Okay.
we're servicing online.
Okay. And I have to ask, how do you have the best nose for perfume?
To be quite honest with you, my nose is terrible, but I do take
Okay.
advantage of a lot of my female friends and asking them what they like because a lot of them do spend a lot of time, with whether it's with significant others or actually have a few friends that work in the health and beauty industry. So they typically can let me know, what they like, what they dislike. I all the time I'll pull people on Facebook. Or on Reddit, just take advantage of any forum I really can to find out what people are looking for and what smells they prefer.
Yeah, and that's really interesting too, because there's a lot of founders out there, right, who have an idea for an industry that they're not necessarily the target market.
Yeah.
So that's a great use case actually, to be honest, right? Like it's amazing. So when you're talking with your friends, like how do you collect that feedback? Like how would you recommend others, collect feedback for a product that they're not using themselves?
So I guess I typically try to base it on finding out nobody really wears, and for the most part, nobody uses one type of fragrance. They usually have a few different kinds. And then you'll kind of get
Okay.
a feel for what they're looking for, whether it's an earthy fragrance, a musky fragrance, a floral fragrance. And you can almost just create a profile for every single person based on that. So when I ask somebody what they're looking for, what they typically wear, or if I get questions from people where they want, a new fragrance, I'll ask them what they've already been wearing, and then I can kind of use the profiles or the notes for that fragrance that they've been using to kind of cater to what they might be looking for also.
Okay.
And there's so many items that come out all the time that have so many different notes that, really the internet is your friend. There's a great website where you can basically put in the notes that you're looking for or what you typically wear, and they'll recommend some other stuff for you. So it's actually
Oh,
fairly easy
what's
to
that
use. There's a
website?
lot of information out there.
But what website is that?
That is Fragrantica.com.
Cool.
Can't spell it off the top of my head right now, but
Yeah,
it's definitely
yeah.
out there.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty neat. Yeah, yeah, and your user profile is essentially kind of like a user persona, right, for different
Correct.
people who like different types of fragrances.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So let's get like kind of like a base level of where your company is at, and then we'll progress from there to how you started it, and then where you're at now and what steps you had along the way. How's
Sure.
that sound? So right now, right, you have how many products that you're selling?
In our inventory, we have roughly 1,600 different SKUs.
1,600. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's no small amount for
Okay.
sure.
And how do you manage all of those? Like
We have a warehouse here at our facility out back. We constantly have shipments coming out and going. There's a lot of items that trend, and we have a lot of great relationships with other wholesalers and distributors. Where if it's an item that we don't have inventory of, but we have an order for, or we expect an order coming in, we can always reach out to those other distributors or wholesalers and make sure that we have the quantity that we need for a lot of
okay.
it.
So let me get more specific, I guess, in that question. So like, if somebody else has 1,600 products, right? Some of
Hmm.
them sell well, some of them don't sell well at all, right? So I'm sure you
Yeah,
use like some tools or processes to kind of make sure that you're maximizing your profitability as a business, right? So can
absolutely.
you describe that?
Sure. So, the same way that the fragrance market works as any other industry, where there are price fluctuations based on trends, and those price fluctuations will also end up either helping or hurting the consumer because in this industry, when you're dealing with an item that typically would sell at a high retail price, but we're selling it below retail, we
Uh-huh.
might have to raise or lower the prices, and typically it's very minimal, a percent or two at most, based on what the inventory we have and what the demand is. So it's very supply and demand driven. A
Okay.
lot of the items that we do get, we'll typically we'll overbuy inventory on, expecting that there's going to be a lot of orders coming in. And even if there are not, we have a lot of inventory lying around, we know that we can end up trading that to another one of our wholesale contacts who might be looking for that same item in a different format of industry, whether it's, they're exporting out to somebody internationally, or they are just marketing to a different marketplace than we typically are, and so they might have a different customer reach than we would.
Did you ever get burned, like, overbuying and then not being able to?
All the time, all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah, I mean, we literally have pallets of some items that just don't sell anymore. And
Yeah.
whether it be for marketing reasons, with a lot of, and I'm not trying to get political in here whatsoever, but sometimes you
Hmm.
have situations where you might have an item that was being marketed or branded with a celebrity or somebody's face, and then that person got into some hot water, and that caused
Ah.
the item to no longer sell now. And you can't expect that to happen or really hedge anything against it. You kind of just have to deal with it, and you might lose some money on it and sell below cost just to move the inventory. But it is what it is, and that's a risk that comes with this industry with the marketing aspect of it.
Is- So is that mostly like, for like movie celebrities, or are there like presidential scents out there that I should be aware of?
There are some presidential scents out there. There is one a
No
typical
fucking
one
way.
with a name on it. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Uh, I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm curious what a president smells like.
Cheap.
Actually, yeah, yeah. Cheap and unsellable. So, all right, cool. So, that's pretty interesting. Like handling price fluctuations. I imagine that there is some consumer feedback that you get, like, positive or negative with the price fluctuations.
There are.
Can you describe like a situation that's happened and like how you've handled that?
All the time. You'll have instances where somebody will say, I bought this from you 3 months ago or 4 months ago, and it was $1 cheaper or however much cheaper. And in some instances, you try to do your best to let the individual know that, hey, we're sorry that the price has changed, but that's because our costs have risen. But you still be aware that you're still paying well below retail.
Yeah.
Actually, but the biggest issue that we have more often than not is most of the fragrances that we sell, are typically in a range of where they're between 40 and 60% cheaper than what you'd paid retail. And
Hmm.
the typical consumer doesn't understand is that retail price point is not a cost. That's a massive margin that any marketplace, whether it be a department store or the distributor or the brand itself, is making a huge chunk of money on.
Yeah.
The price that we're buying at and selling to is a lot closer. We have a lot smaller of a margin than they would. But you'll have a consumer who's so used to paying that retail price that they'll look at our items, which is the exact same items, same batch codes, same barcodes that they would buy in a store, and they just assume that it's not
It's not the
quality
same
standard,
quality.
or that it's a knockoff. And
Yeah.
we've had a lot of instances where we've gotten some trouble with marketplaces who will typically side with a buyer, a consumer buyer, and we've been burned a few times. One of them, the biggest ones, for example, was we were selling on eBay and doing very well. Between 1,000 to 2,000 shipments on a daily basis with
Wow.
eBay. And we had a single person, there was an item that, within a week, actually within a month, and it was during the holiday season last year, we sold something like 7,000 pieces. Not a single complaint except for one. And that individual basically told them that told PayPal that we had sold a fake item. And PayPal didn't want to hear anything from us, put our account on hold indefinitely. And we were no longer able to sell from
No
eBay, which,
way.
really killed us.
No
Luckily, it was
way.
post-holiday season, so it wasn't so bad as it could have been had it been during peak holiday times. But it was right after the holiday season, but right before Valentine's Day. And this industry, typically is Hallmark holiday based.
Yeah.
So it hurt us, pretty badly. And we tried to plead our case to PayPal, and ultimately, what ended up happening was they didn't want to hear it, and they shut us down indefinitely from using them as a payment provider. They put our money that they had in their account on hold for 6 months. So now we were
Yeah.
facing a cash flow situation. And then, we have to go back to the drawing board.
Oh,
And
they froze your assets.
they did,
Right.
yeah. Because we typically what
Ah.
we'd do is, at the end of every day, we would essentially have a direct deposit from the PayPal account into our checking account. And just so happened that
Yeah.
this was a weekend where somebody forgot to do it on the Friday, and come Monday morning, the asset was frozen. And
Ah.
so then, we were on hold for roughly 6 months while we tried to plead our case, and they didn't want to hear it. So we had to shut down eBay operations, go back to the drawing board, and then start reaching out to some other marketplaces where we could where we didn't have to have that issue, where it was somebody that already understood the industry and understood us as a wholesaler and as a retailer, because they've also worked
Yeah.
with some other brands, and start focusing a lot more of our energy and growth towards those.
Yeah, yeah, and and I've seen that across many different industries, right? Where a company will get started or will focus on like one platform, like eBay as a platform, right? And then the platform can change, the policies can change, right?
Yep,
Like, and that can dramatically affect the business.
absolutely.
If that happens to somebody else, right? Who has a company, like, what would you recommend that they do?
So, you really need to, it's one of those issues where you really need to pay attention to those changes that are happening. And it's funny, I didn't really ever read the terms and conditions of any policies that I would accept before I started a
Yeah,
business. And once I
yeah,
did, I really started paying attention to what I'm actually accepting and, what I'm getting myself into. Because, not only am I, in charge of my own livelihood and obviously, my brother as well as a partner here, but we've got other employees here. And if I
yeah,
can't, pay them, let alone pay myself, then, there's a lot of tables and mouths to feed. So you really need to be paying attention to what you're signing off on. A lot of these bigger marketplaces, especially if you're a smaller business and you're really not doing larger volume, you're not
hmm
really going to be able to do much as far as changing policy, because it's across the table for them. But I would say definitely try to build a relationship with an account manager wherever you are working. So when we were on eBay and when we were at PayPal, we did have an account manager that I was always in contact with. Um,
hmm
Especially with PayPal, actually, even though what ended up happening, one of the things that was great with PayPal for as long as we had them is we were doing so much volume that we were able to reach out to somebody directly and say, hey, listen, we're doing this much volume. You're getting your fees on this. You say online that you guys don't change your rates, but we want to see if you'd be able to do that for us. And we had a
Yep.
conversation, took about a month, and they lowered our rates significantly. For credit
That's
card
cool.
processing. So it's stuff like that where don't be afraid, I guess, to ask those questions and
To
reach out to
ask.
somebody there. Because you never know. I mean, the worst that could happen is they'll say no, but the
Yeah.
best that could happen is you could really increase your margins, lower your rates, and it really help you out in the long run.
Yeah, yeah, and 100%. And the other part that you mentioned was actually the seasonality of your business, right?
Yes,
So that's really interesting because I'm a business owner, so I know like I have to make sure that there's paychecks going every month. It doesn't matter if I'm
absolutely.
making sales that month, right?
Yep.
So how do you handle that?
Um, so it's really one of those situations where for the seasonality of it, you'll tend to focus again on a lot of those market trending brands. But when it's not, don't be afraid to reach out to old customers. Send a quick email
Mm,
about, hey, we saw you bought this 6 months ago or 8 months ago, or if it's a smaller size, 2 months ago. Are you running low? Can we get would you like to reorder with us? Because a lot of the times, yeah, and I've felt this on my own as well, is you've got so many things going on in a typical day that you forget, that I ran out of milk, I ran out of these groceries, but that also happens with deodorant, with fragrances, with all these things, and just a little push reminder, making it easier for that return customer to actually become a return customer. That really
yep,
helps, and you've got to do whatever you can to drive those sales. Aside from that, don't be afraid to just see where, if you've got some extra cash lying on, or if you've got some revenue stream or another way to reinvest it, to go ahead and do that. It
yeah,
happened in this situation where, although we're doing perfumes, I really decided that, I wanted to get a little bit into real estate because I needed a second flow of cash income. So what I started doing was also investing in foreclosure homes in my nearby area, and starting to redevelop and develop and remodel those and sell those, just so I had that cash flow going. And if I got that money on hand, to make
yeah.
sure that payroll still continues to be paid out.
So question about that, did you put that under the same company or did you spawn off
No,
separate LLCs?
separate LLC. Liability
Cool.
issues. You always want to make sure that
Yeah.
you don't have two things crossing. God forbid something
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, I mean that makes a lot of sense. Do you use any tools for for like customer outreach, like constant
We have
contact or
been
something like that?
using Constant Contact a little bit. The great thing that we actually had with eBay and PayPal was We with PayPal, you get a verified email address. And so
Okay.
when we were on, when we were selling on eBay and with PayPal, we had an actual email address for a customer that had bought something from us. And it's an email address that they typically use. It's not like an email address where they just got spam going there.
Yep.
And we used that to our benefit, where once we were off eBay and PayPal, we decided to reach out to those customers directly. The great thing about that actually too was because we were no longer paying eBay a fee and PayPal a fee, we were able to lower our costs again and be able to reach out to those same customers that we've sold to before and let them know, hey, we can get you this product, same quality and at a lower cost. And that actually really helped us grow continuously again.
That, that's cool. So you're doing more direct outreach as opposed to just like,
Absolutely.
a big email blast.
Yep, for sure.
Awesome. And then are you doing that personally? Do you have a team doing that? Like how's
Uh,
your company structure set up?
we have a team doing that. I have a person, actually I have two people now that are, doing that, reaching out to customers.
Hmm.
We have a price list of, new items that come in, and that we put out every Friday. We've actually, in the last couple of months or so, we've been kind of shying away from the direct to consumer a little bit. And the reason being is
Oh
because
yeah.
the marketplace has become so saturated. And there's actually a
Ah.
lot of customer expectation, rightfully so, with places like Amazon, where they want, 2-day shipping. And actually a lot of our money, that, we make, our margins, we're based on lowering shipping costs. But
Ah.
with places like Amazon, actually the other issue with Amazon is they've actually teamed up with a lot of brands directly and manufacturers directly. Where when we were trying to sell on Amazon, we were pushed out of that too because they basically said, we don't need you selling this brand because we can just get that item directly from the brand itself and sell it at a lower cost.
Yeah.
So we almost realized that it wasn't making sense for us to continue to go direct to consumer anymore. We still do it, but on a smaller scale. We have marketplace accounts with Groupon Goods, with Jet, and a few other places where they're actually handling a lot more of the marketing now than we typically are. But we also
Okay.
entered the drop ship market, more so. So again, Groupon Goods, we drop ship for them. We're also doing it for Walmart, for Jet. Really just iterating the business as much as we can, and making sure that all this inventory that we have, we can continue to move and really offer it at a great price to these marketplaces that already have these teams in place.
So getting in with like Walmart, right? I imagine, there's only a couple of people who get in who can do that, right? So
Yeah.
how do you like get that connection?
Um, LinkedIn was my best friend.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. And it's so funny because even in college or right after, I never really thought of using it.
Hmm.
But I figured, at this point, it's worth a shot.
Yeah.
I just decided to message on LinkedIn. Not every message gets answered, but a lot of the ones that
Yep.
do, really help us out. That's how we got into Groupon Goods, and that's how we got into Walmart and to Jet. Was actually I found a brand buyer, or a product buyer at all these companies, and just reached out directly, kind of gave them my elevator pitch via message, and kept my fingers crossed.
Yeah. So, all right, give us the elevator pitch that you set out in a message. Like, how do you get them to respond in LinkedIn?
So on LinkedIn, it was great. For Groupon Goods, we actually had a mutual connection, which was somebody else that was, I guess, was also drop shipping for Groupon, but they weren't doing
Okay.
fragrances; they were doing like creams and lotions. So
Okay.
that must have helped a
So not
little
a
bit.
competitor.
Yeah, not a competitor. But I basically sent them a quick message letting them know that my brother and I started this company.
Hmm.
It's a part of a family-owned business that's been in the business for 30 plus years. We're a large wholesale company that is, deciding to focus on, working with marketplaces that, really want to help benefit the end user in getting the products that they want at a price that they can afford. And that we would love to work with them and any way that we could. And if we could just get, a little bit of their time, we can show them what products we have and what we can offer, both to them and to their customers. And, it was simple and straightforward. And I think that's what worked. It's one of those situations where, even myself, if I get, an email from somebody and it's long and winded, I might just put it away to read later and I'll forget about it. But,
Yeah,
if somebody
exactly.
can see that I'm not wasting their time, it's simple, straightforward. They can read it really quick and, make a split second decision on whether or not they want to respond. They're able to do that without, wasting a good amount of their time because, in this industry, in any industry, especially at marketplaces like that, time is valuable. I'm not the only
Time
person
is
emailing
valuable.
them. whether it's within or outside of the company. You really want to make sure that it's a good way to show that, if you're going to waste their time now, are they going to expect that you're going to continue to waste their time, with information that they don't need?
Exactly, exactly. And one of my favorite sayings is there's only one thing that's more valuable than money, and that's time, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It really is a
Yeah,
commodity.
yeah, it really is. Now, I have a personal question.
Sure.
If I start doing the same tactic on LinkedIn, will I get more recruiters attacking me, or is it going to be the same?
Oh, no, it's quite possible. You'll definitely get a lot more recruiters. That's for sure.
They're going to see I'm active, and they're going to be like,
Yeah.
let's get him. Let's spam his inbox. That's too
That's
funny.
too funny. Yeah.
And for any recruiters watching, you guys do a great job, but
Yeah.
please don't
Absolutely.
message me.
Same here, please.
Well, but my favorite is when they ask me like for a software developer role, and I'm like, do you realize I own a company now? Like I've had this company for 5 years. I'm still getting messages like, hey, I noticed you graduated from Drexel University, and I'm like, yeah, forever ago. That was like 7 or 8 years ago. Like what?
That's
But
a perfect
anyway,
example of somebody just not doing their homework. That's really what it
yeah,
is.
right. Perfect example of somebody who you would never respond to, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yep. There you go.
yeah, yeah. You got to be real. Yeah, 100%. So okay, cool. So and when you started out the company, like, how did you and your brother start? Like, did you have something? Did you start with like money in the bank or something? Like what got you launched?
No, we literally just bootstrapped. All we did was we purchased some inventory on 30-day terms, and started just posting those.
What does that mean? I'm sorry, 30-day terms.
So 30 essentially where we purchased some items from different wholesalers, and basically told them, hey, listen, we're gonna pay you in 30 days for these items that we're purchasing. The one thing with 30-day terms rather than COD cash on delivery terms is, you might be paying a little bit higher, but you don't have to worry about, not having cash on hand, money in the bank to be able to pay for the products. And now we basically had a 30-day runway to not only sell these items, but get paid on them and then be able to pay our suppliers back. And we just grew that.
That's cool. That's a good tactic. So I guess in drop shipping, this is like a very good tactic, huh?
It's a great tactic. Although the one thing you'll start to notice is, terms are your friend. But pay
Okay.
attention to make sure that you're using them to your benefit and you're not overpaying those terms as well. A lot of the drop ship marketplaces that we use, they pay us some 60-day terms where we'll drop ship the item, but we're not going to get paid in 60 days. They also do that for their own benefit because they might have some issues where you might have customer service issues where somebody might not be getting the item in time, or they have a 30-day to 45-day return policy. And so they want to make sure they don't pay us and then find out that we're also ship the item back.
Gotcha. Yep.
But, we did the same thing on our end. That's how we basically started, was just, we had a little bit of capital we had on hand with us, in our banks, and we used that to buy some merchandise up front, and the rest was 30-day terms, some 45, some 60-day terms. And then just started taking pictures and writing descriptions out and posting online to see who would buy.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome. So, what kind of advice would you give, generally to an entrepreneur who wants to, create their first like drop shipping company, right?
Number one is never be afraid to ask, whether it's asking, who you're shipping with, if you can get some kind of volume discount, whether it be, we drop ship with, we use the United States Postal Service as our shipping company, as our primary shipping company.
Okay.
And, one thing that people don't realize is the rates that a consumer typically pays when they go into a post office or buy postage online, not the same rates that somebody that's shipping at volume would be paying. Our rates are typically a lot lower. They're based
Yeah.
on, the package weight, but also on how much we're doing. I've got a great relationship with the USPS and the account manager we have there, where we were able to negotiate our rates down to a point where, as long as we promise them a certain amount of volume every month or every year, they would really help us out in dropping our rates. But don't be afraid to ask, because I didn't even know that information until I reached out
Yeah.
to somebody at USPS, and it kind of gave me a goal almost to be like, listen, we need to do whatever we can do to get to this shipping volume so that, we can get our rates lowered, and that'll continue to help us to grow. And that happens every which way. Really, asking veterans in the industry. There's a lot of people that were also in the same industry. We know a lot of larger marketplaces that have been around for 10, 15, 20 years. And we just asked, and it's almost an awkward conversation to have because you're almost asking them how can you help me compete with you?
Yeah.
But in a lot of these situations, they're happy. It's one of those where you don't realize, but they're happy to welcome competition because it means that they get a chance to grow their own company as well. If they're not facing any kind of competition, they don't have any reason to grow or to change or to adapt.
Yeah.
And so, we just did what we could to really ask a lot of the veterans in this industry that are doing the thing that we wanted to do and find out, what we can do, to kind of get in this, what did they do? How did you start?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's actually another reason about how I found out about the lowering the rates for shipping was, we had somebody else in the industry that's been doing this for a while, basically say, well, my rates are a lot lower than yours, so my margins are going to be a lot better. And they almost said it in a way where it's like, I'm not too worried about you, little guy. You're not going to be,
Gotcha.
getting to my
Yeah.
volume. But, it helped.
Yeah.
It started a conversation. And that's, the name of the game, especially in drop shipping, is really the rates. Because, a lot of the prices that I'm getting from the brands or the manufacturers or distributors I'm buying from, I'm not the only customer that's buying. They're also giving these same items to some others, and it might be the same price, in some cases a better price. So you really got to pay attention to your margins and where you're paying. Even with drop shipping goes, how you're packaging your goods, making sure you're really not overpacking. Especially if you're sending in boxes or bubble millers, because another thing with these shipping rates is they're paying attention to how much space every piece of mail or parcel or box is taking up in a truck. And that's actually how they charge you on the rate as well. So you really got to pay attention to, can my warehouse or can we package this properly so that, we can make sure that the item reaches the consumer safely, so that it's also not taking up too much space, when we are shipping it, because that'll help too.
And I would even add to that, because one of the things you mentioned, I think was pretty good, is don't take offense when you have somebody who's been in the industry for years, right, who has a bigger company than you, when they say, something that makes it seem like, oh, I'm not worried about you competing.
Yeah.
I've had that happen as well. And it's realistic, right? There's somebody with, 100 more employees than I have, right? 100 more clients than I have, right? They've done something right. They've been in it longer, right?
Yeah.
And I want to learn from them, right? And I think all founders can learn from people who, are in their industry that have done it, many times before, right? And it's not on the same level, so they're not competing, so they don't have to worry about that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just really one of those, situations where, you shouldn't be afraid. And like you said, you just shouldn't be afraid to ask, don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to kind of follow their story, see what you can find out about, what they've done before, how they entered the industry, whether it's reaching out to somebody directly or just doing your research. Really, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Just do your homework. If you're this passionate about entering an industry or starting a company, really show your true passion. Show that you really want to be involved and do what you want to do to get where you want to be.
Yeah, 100%. And one last question for you. So, in terms of tools that you'd recommend for people, any tool for any part of your business, right? What are some cool tools that you've used that you think would be helpful?
I spent a lot of time on Microsoft Excel. I didn't know anything about it. I know everyone uses Microsoft Excel, but it's actually really powerful once you figure out how to use it. Whether it's learning formulas or anything like that. Other than that, especially in our industry, we use a few different shipping APIs to help that really did save us a lot of time and effort.
Like what? Do you know the names of them?
ShipStation is the one that we're using more often now. Used to be Shipping Easy. Shipping Easy was great. ShipStation just better caters to our needs at the volume that we're at now. They've got a great inventory management feature that really helps. So we know, how much we're selling of a certain item, where we're shipping out to. So it actually gives us those insights on what part of the country specific items are being sold to.
That's cool.
Yeah, it helps a lot. It also, helps us reach out to a lot of our existing customer base, because it'll pull in all the information about, their name, address, location, email address, phone numbers, whatever else that these customers have typically already provided to us, or provided to the marketplace. And then it's just a great way to really pay attention to, how your business is just functioning as a whole. There's a
Yeah.
lot of other great, software companies that create similar shipping APIs, but ShipStation has worked great for us.
It's been awesome.
So that's one that
Cool.
I highly recommend, and I know a lot of the major marketplaces use them directly. So it's been really helpful.
Yeah. What do you use for payroll?
We use QuickBooks for payroll.
QuickBooks?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
been
cool. Yeah.
simple. It's been straightforward. It's been really easy to use, and I'm not the type of person that was really able to pick up on any of the other payroll or actually even any kind of software because we used to use Sage for it, and it was just too
Okay.
it was too complicated. There were too many features, and there is a such
Okay.
thing. So we just switched over
Yeah,
to
100%.
QuickBooks, and it was really simple and easy to use, especially
Yeah.
at the stage that we're at now.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny for me. So we used to use QuickBooks as well, and it's pretty good, especially because it ties in with our invoicing, which is like
Yeah.
so nice, right? In our bookkeeping, and we still use it for invoicing and bookkeeping. But recently we switched over to a newer company called Gusto
Oh,
for HR and payroll. And my God, like I thought QuickBooks was easy. I don't even enter my employees' information in anymore. All I do is type their email address, and it sends them an email and onboards them for me.
that's amazing. Wow, I have to
Yeah,
Gusto. I have to check that out. I got to write that down.
it it's really cool. Like dude, I swear it's gonna save you like so much time.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, anytime that I can save is perfect. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, no problem. Yeah, it even does vacation and everything, and they get
Oh.
emails. They get emails from me that I didn't even know I sent, saying like, "Hey, happy birthday! Hey, that's what I see."
That's so funny. That's amazing.
I
All right,
know.
yeah, I'll have to
Yeah.
check it out. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, no, thank you. And thank you so much for joining us today. I think this is super helpful. I think everyone's going to really learn a lot from it,
Appreciate it.
especially if they're doing like job shipping and that type of business. Yeah, they like this is what the Junto is all about. We learn together, we grow together, we give each other advice, right? It's the
Yeah,
best way to grow.
absolutely.
Yeah, so cool. Well, thank you so much. So I promised you a 30-second plug. So a shameless plug about your services or anything you're selling right now. So 30 seconds. Let's go.
Sure, absolutely. So our company is Perfume Brothers. We have a website, perfumebrothers.com. We typically focus on a lot of dropshipping now, but that doesn't mean that, if there's a customer out there that's looking for an item that they love or they can't find anymore at a marketplace, actually, what I'll do is they can email me directly at Amit, that's AMIT at perfumebrothers.com. Let me know what item you're looking
Okay.
for, and I'll do my best to get it out to you. So that's Amit, AMIT at perfumebrothers.com.
Awesome. So Amit, thank you so much. Everyone, please go to perfumebrothers.com. In the meantime, also go to startupjunto.org. We're going to have more I can't speak today. Interviews with founders with more amazing information, just like Amit provided today. And yeah, we look forward to everyone tuning in next time. Amit, I hope to see you in person again very, very soon.
Same here. Thank you so much, Jedi.
Thank you.